Fernando Alonso officially began his Formula One career in March of 2003 at the Australian Grand Prix. He was driving for Renault, where his teammate was none other than Jarno Trulli, who himself would go on to race in F1 for 14 years. Since that momentous day in 2003, the Spaniard has consistently held his status as a Formula One driver, with the exception of the 2020 season, during which he switched over to IndyCar racing in the US after his F1 contract with McLaren was not renewed and he was replaced by Daniel Ricciardo. 20 years at the top of your sport is a long time in anyone's book, so in this video I'm asking, how has he done it? Alonso started breaking records early doors once he secured a seat at Renault, becoming the youngest driver to win a pole position in just his second qualifying at the Malaysian Grand Prix in March, and the youngest F1 race winner at the Hungarian Grand Prix later that year in August. In his first full year in F1, Alonso ultimately tallied up 4 podium finishes, finished 6th in the World Drivers' Championship with 55 points. This puts him in the range of some of the top rookie class finishes in Formula One history, alongside Kimi Räikkönen and Juan Pablo Montoya, who also made their debuts in 2003. It should be noted that Alonso's Renault was far from the best car on the grid at the time. Alonso stayed loyal to the French outfit and continued with the team as they built a more successful car over the next 2 years, rising from 6th to 4th in the championship standings. At the start of the 2005 season, he won 3 out of the first 4 races and looked to be creating the perfect conditions for a championship win. However, his fellow rookie classmate from 2003, Kimi Räikkönen, had plans to spoil the party and won a total of 7 races, the same number that Alonso racked up. It wasn't to be for Räikkönen that year though, because his McLaren suffered from significant reliability issues, causing the Finn to retire from a race-leading position painful 3 times, and also resulting with him being hit with engine penalties. Alonso ultimately triumphed and broke yet another record as the youngest champion in the history of F1, a title he held until his future teammate Lewis Hamilton's 2008 success. The following season in 2006 saw Fernando go head-to-head with Michael Schumacher for the F1 title. At this point, Schumacher had already won 7 championships, so this was a huge challenge for the 25-year-old Alonso, regardless of the confidence he would have taken from being the reigning champ. Schumacher was also on a dangerous comeback mission after a poor year of performances from Ferrari in 2005. 7 proved to be Alonso's lucky number yet again in 2006, as he won the same number of races as in the previous season. The Spaniard traded wins back and forth with Schumacher for the entire year, with only 3 other drivers managing to make it up to the top step of the podium. When it was all said and done though, Alonso had prevailed and won his second F1 title. Continuing his run of record breaking, this win gave Alonso the title of youngest ever double world champion at the time. Unfortunately for him, that title winning run was not to continue. Since the 2006 season, Fernando Alonso has driven for no less than 5 Formula One teams. He completed a second stint at Renault, he had 2 separate patches at McLaren, spent 4 years with Ferrari, and most recently made the switch from Alpine to Aston Martin. Between 2006 and 2023, he has ranked up 17 F1 race wins and 44 other podium finishes, but he has not won a race since the 2013 Spanish Grand Prix when he was driving in the red of Ferrari. That's an entire decade ago. So the question is, why does Fernando Alonso remain such a hot commodity in Formula One? If a driver has been mixing it up in the midfield for so many years, how does he maintain one of just 20 seats on the F1 grid with so many other competitors vying for those same spots? Aggressive steering is one of Fernando Alonso's key driving attributes that has brought him success. It's well known that he uses a more aggressive steering technique than is typical amongst his fellow drivers, and this is something he has done over the full span of his career. In Alonso's own words, the reason for this is because the feedback that he gets through his hands from the steering wheel is more vital to him than any other signal as far as understanding what's happening with his car. In an interview with soymotor.com, he explained, "Normally I feel everything with my hands at the front of the car. If you take that away from me, I'm dead. Other drivers might do it differently, but I'm defenseless if I can't feel the front tires. Then I can't predict what the car will do." Let's talk about overtaking. I reckon that any F1 driver who sees Fernando Alonso's car appearing in their mirrors steels themselves for a dogfight, because he is one of the most battle-hardened drivers out there. Aside from his signature finger wagging and hand gestures in the middle of on-track action, Alonso is a stone-cold killer when the driver in front of him leaves the door ajar. In fact, his 2005 overtake on Michael Schumacher in Suzuka is widely considered to be one of the best overtaking maneuvers in the history of the sport, and you don't get to be anywhere on that list without being very impressive. It's worth mentioning that Alonso has sometimes been accused of being a driver who is difficult to manage. Indeed, when taken out of context, some of his radio message teams throughout the years could be seen as plain old rude. When looking at this through the lens of his career longevity, though, this tenacity and insistence on pushing for nothing less than the best from both himself and everyone around him may actually represent one of the characteristics that still make him a formidable member of the F1 grid today. There are very few drivers who stick it out at the top level for 2 decades, and let's be honest, Alonso doesn't seem to be going anywhere soon. His ability to get more out of the car he's been given than other drivers is a rare and highly valuable skill, as many F1 racers are only able to perform at their best when given the best car. Alonso is not fazed by what others think about the machinery he's been given. He's just focused about going out there, on track, and pushing it to his absolute limit. Potentially the biggest blot on Fernando Alonso's reputation is his notoriety for being a tricky customer as a teammate. You will likely be all too familiar with his rivalry with Lewis Hamilton in 2007 during his first stint at McLaren, where both ended up losing out on the World Championship to Ferrari's Kimi Räikkönen at the end of the day. Although at the end of the season, Hamilton and Alonso were tied on points and both had 4 wins, Hamilton was declared in front in the championship by virtue of having had more second place finishes. Although the two only spent 1 season together at the British outfit, there was a serious rookie versus champion dynamic, and even years later, the two still seemed to have quite a standoffish relationship, as evidenced by some dodgy comments Fernando Alonso made in 2022. Similarly, in his most recent role representing Alpine, Alonso seemed to flip-flop between hot and cold in his relationship with teammate Esteban Ocon. We all remember the legendary radio message, "Tell Esteban to defend like a lion," from the 2021 Qatar Grand Prix, where it seemed like they were in the fight together. But the 2022 season showcased numerous awkward moments on and off track where the two drivers came to blows and ultimately cost the team and each other valuable results. In the end, Fernando Alonso stated in no uncertain terms that he was looking forward to the end of the partnership after announcing his upcoming move to Aston Martin. Obviously, these are just 2 examples of the full list of teammates that Alonso has had over his many years, and some of the factors that have contributed to his success and longevity. But is he on the precipice of another pivotal moment with this move to Aston Martin? After finishing a less than exciting 7th in the Constructors' Championship for the last 2 years, the majority of us questioned Alonso's convictions when he announced his move to partner Lance Stroll at Aston Martin with so much excitement and anticipation for the future. However, after pre-season testing, we may have to ask ourselves whether he was right. Toto Wolff himself confirmed that according to Mercedes data, Aston Martin are as high up the pecking order as 2nd heading into the 2023 season opener in Bahrain. So maybe this is the chance that Alonso has been waiting for, his final push for glory, because let's be honest, as long as there's an opportunity for him to compete in F1 and as long as there's an appetite for him to be on the grid, that is exactly where Fernando Alonso is going to be. Thanks for tuning into this week's video. If you liked what you saw, make sure to give it a thumbs up and subscribe to my channel if you want to see more weekly Formula 1 videos and motorsport interviews. In the meantime, take care and enjoy your racing.